You don't even listen to your own mother. I gave birth to you and raised you for 30 years. And this is how you repay me?
Even my name, Shenjian, carries their expectations for me. Haven't I repaid enough? I was forced to drop out of middle school and send out to work and earn money. I paid for my brother's tuition. I paid for his car. And now they want to use up all my savings to buy him a house for his wedding. Since I was a child, I never dared say no. No one expected the ignored rainstorm to bring the apocalypse until the river flooded. City's drainage failed, and all low-rise buildings were submerged. The penthouse on the 55th floor I worked so hard to buy became our family shelter. Mom brought my brother and his wife to live with me through the storm. Later, when supplies ran low, my brother and his wife decided to marry me off to the local thug Zhongbio downstairs, just for 2 boxes of compressed biscuits. Heartbroken, I asked why. Mom said,
once you're gone, the house can become your brother's wedding home. The supplies you bring can nourish Wei Wei, so she can carry on the Shen family line.
I fought back desperately, but in the struggle, I fell from the 55th floor.
Zhenyan, Mom hopes you can come back alive, but don't blame Zhihao. He's still a child.
My heart bled with hatred. If I had another chance, I would never let them through the door. Never sacrifice my life for this blood-sucking family. The suffocating feeling of drowning still filled my chest as I suddenly opened my eyes, gasping heavily. Covered in cold sweat, I looked around in confusion. Sunlight streamed through the floor to ceiling windows onto the clean floor. No stench of floodwaters, no chill of the apocalypse, and no greedy, selfish faces of my family. It was all a dream. Just then, my phone vibrated frantically. WeChat voice messages popped up one after another. The sender was my dear brother, Shen Zhihao.
Sis, Wei Wei and I are getting engaged next week. Mom said your penthouse will be my wedding home. Hurry up and make time to transfer the title with me. Don't ruin my big day. I'm your only brother. It's not right if you don't even provide a shawls for my wedding. Besides, you're just a girl. What use is such a big house to you? Then you get married, you'll have to transfer it to me anyway. The family assets should be mine to manage. Mom already agreed. Don't be ungrateful.
Every hair on my body is standing straight up. What he said is exactly what I heard in my dream. Am I still dreaming? My fingertips are trembling as I stare at this message that's identical to the one in my dream. My strained nerves suddenly relax. In real life, I've been a people pleaser for 30 years, never daring to say no to anyone. No matter what happens this time, I want to throw away all my worries and do what I really want. I take a deep breath, and for the first time, I don't rush to reply to the message. I just exit WeChat directly. The next second, my mom's incoming call pops up on the screen. I don't even need to think. She's definitely calling to pressure me into transferring the house ownership to her. Just at this moment, the news on TV starts reporting. A magnitude 2.3 earthquake hit the Midwest. In my dream, everyone thought it was just a normal earthquake. But 7 days after the quake, that relentless, never-ending downpour will drag the entire world into an apocalypse. So everything that happened in the dream is coming true one by one. If I want to survive the apocalyptic rainstorm, I need enough supplies, an impregnable safe fortress, and the ability to pretend to myself 4-3 are indispensable. I don't have time to argue with her, so I just hang up the phone. Then I quickly add my mom's number, Shen Zhihao and Lin Wei Wei's, all to the blacklist. The top priority right now is getting money and stockpiling supplies. Just then, a cold mechanical voice suddenly rings out my head.
Strong survival will oppose detected. Picture to real system officially activated. Upload a clear image of an item with complete parameters, and you can generate the corresponding physical item out of thin air. Newbie welfare granted. 3 generation attempts available per day. You can generate up to 10 items of the same specification in one use. No restrictions on item types. The number of available generation attempts will increase along the host of survival time in the apocalypse. The longer you survive, the higher your system authority will be.
Picture to real system? That means, as long as I save enough pictures, I can have endless supplies in the apocalypse. I immediately open a shopping app, find a high-definition product image of a Class A explosion-proof security door, copy its full specification parameters, and hit generate.
Valid image and parameters detected. Confirm generation. This use will consume one of today's.
Confirm. A faint white flash flickers, and a blast-proof security door weighing hundreds of pounds appears out of thin air right in my living room. It matches the specifications in the picture perfectly. I hurry over. My fingertips touch the cold, hardwood room, and my eyes instantly heat up with tears. It's real. My dream. Now that I have this system, I can turn this place into the city's most impregnable doomsday fortress. After the initial elation, I quickly calmed down. The system's early permissions are limited to complete the full range of I must use both cash purchases and system generation. Only then can it be foolproof. I don't hesitate for a second. I immediately open all my financial stock and fund accounts, redeeming them at a compliant discount. Even with losses and fees, I need cash now. On second-hand platforms, all my luxury goods, jewelry, and limited edition watches are sold at a discount. Urgently. The Porsche I've had for less than a year. I directly contact used car dealers, discounting it by 30%, demanding full payment and pickup the same day, in just half an hour. I have 12 million in cash flow. With money, the first step is securing a storage site. The space of a single large penthouse can't hold a year's worth of supplies. I immediately contact the property management, precisely targeting the 2 vacant units on the same floor. Both owners are out-of-town investors, already intending to sell, and call the owners directly, offering a 20% cash premium, full payment, with contracts signed and keys handed over the same day. For the owners, this is a godsend. They don't hesitate for a moment, immediately heading over to finalize the deal. In just half a day, I secured the entire 55th floor space, a full 600 square meters, completely solving the storage and renovation site problem. While signing contracts, my phone rings again. The caller is Moan Ryan, my only true friend in this life, and the person I wronged most in my past life. Over the years, she's repeatedly urged me to hold my ground, not let the Shen family bleed me dry. In my dreams, she kept reminding me to stockpile supplies, inviting me multiple times to her rural hometown for refuge. I was entangled with the Shens and couldn't go, ultimately dying a tragic death. This time, I will not betray this sincerity. I take a deep breath and swipe to answer the call.
Your mom called and cursed at me about you for ages, saying you won't give Shen Zhihao the apartment and won't answer calls. Good for you. It's about time you stood your ground.
Exactly the same concern as in my dream. Rian, there's something more urgent now. You have to believe me. In 7 days, a massive rainstorm will flood the entire city.
Are you sure? What do you need me to do?
Blood relatives see me as a stepping stone. A friend with no blood ties. Yeah, it always puts me first. I'm sure. Your hometown's at a high elevation. The best shelter. Stock up on supplies now. Food, water, warm clothing, self-defense weapons. The more the better.
Okay, I have money. I'll do it right away. You be careful. Don't you dare show mercy to the Shin family again.
Don't worry, I won't. This is the first time since I woke up. I've smiled from the bottom of my heart. I won't just survive. I'll live well, helping my friends endure the apocalypse. Starting a new life. My phone buzzes with a call from the property manager.
Miss Shen, your mother and brother can't reach you. They're at the property office demanding the spare key. Heading your way now.
And to store the grade a security door from the system back into my space. The front door of my home was smashed open with a loud crash. My mother, Zhang Wuhong, charged first.
Shen Jian, you ungrateful wretch. I was only 35 when your father left. To raise you and your brother, I swept streets in winter, my hands covered in chilblains, stayed up late mending clothes, nearly going blind. I worked myself to the bone to raise you, and this is how you repay me? Now your brother needs to get married, to carry on the Shing family line. He must use this apartment as the wedding home. If you refuse, I'll go to your company and make a scene right now. I'll let your boss and colleagues all know how you repay kindness with ingratitude.
Those words were like a poisoned dagger, stabbing deep into my heart. I knew them all too well. Last time, to buy a luxury car for Shen Zhihao, she used this exact trick, causing a scene at my company's reception, telling everyone I was unfilial, almost getting me fired. I worked overtime day and night for 3 months, drank until my stomach bled, fought desperately to secure a multi-million-dollar project, just to keep my job, climbing the ranks step by step, getting raises. I bought this top-floor penthouse that could save my life in the apocalypse. Now, she wants to use the same old trick again, trading my future for her precious son's wealth and glory.
Sis, mom said her piece. Just be obedient. Anyway, you're just a girl. The money you earn, the house you buy, will be mine sooner or later. Don't push your luck and upset our mom.
Sister, please have a heart. We're already trying for a baby. Without the wedding home, our future child would be on the street.
Looking at these 3 people before me, the suffocating feeling of drowning from my dreams surged back. My eyes read instinctively. Fine, I'll transfer it. I'll transfer the property to Shen Zhihao. But I have to go on a business trip for 7 days. In that 7 days, I'll prepare the transfer documents and notify you to complete the formalities. Their eyes instantly lit up. The arrogance on their faces instantly turned to wild joy, thinking they had me completely under control. But they didn't know, in 7 days, that devastating continuous downpour will sweep through the entire city. The whole city will be submerged in floodwaters. By then, they won't even find the entrance to this building. Seeing me relent, Liu Heiwei immediately seized the opportunity. She cooed, asking to move into the city early to get used to the area around the marital home. Shen Zhihao even had the nerve to ask me for 100,000, saying he needed to rent a nice place as a transition. I was sneering inside, but on the surface, I pretended to be utterly helpless. I transferred the money to them on the spot and kindly reminded them of the recent extreme rain warnings I'm warning against renting in low-lying areas, but their minds were completely fixated on transferring the property deed. They didn't take my warning seriously at all. They immediately rented a fully furnished 2-bedroom apartment in the low-lying Riverside area downtown, thinking only of the prestige of the prime location. The 3 of them left, satisfied after achieving their goal. I turned around and called the property management. Send a technician right away. I need to change my door and lock.
Miss, this door could withstand a nuclear blast. Even bank vaults use this grade.
I just smiled without explaining, silently thinking, generate 2 identical blast doors. Instantly appeared in system space. There are 2 more doors over there. A big bonus once they're installed. And I have efficiently new doorways connecting my 3 apartments, allowing me to move freely between the warehouse and master bedroom. As soon as the doors were installed, I headed straight to the city's largest farmers market to start stockpiling, boss. 2,000 gen of vacuum-packed wuchang rice. She then in premium flour, 50 boxes of dried noodles, sweet potato starch and potato starch, wuxia barrels each of rapeseed oil, peanut oil, and corn oil. Seasonings? Give me your entire store's maximum inventory. Salt? Start with 200 packs for me.
Miss, are you opening a chain supermarket? Can you even finish all these greens and oils?
Just to go over a few community fresh food stores. Wholesale stocking, I said while snapping pictures of the shelves of rice, flour, oils, seasonings, and dried goods. I even photographed the ingredient list and specifications on the product packaging clearly.
What are you taking pictures for?
Recording item details for inventory and accounting later. Little did he know, this would be my inexhaustible food warehouse in the apocalypse. Seeing me spend lavishly and even double the shipping fee, the boss grinned from ear to ear. He immediately arranged for 2 trucks and 8 porters, delivered to customers' doorsteps with me, stack all these staple foods neatly into the warehouse at the far left on the 55th floor, looking at a whole room full of rice, flour, grains, and cooking oil. I feel much more confident now, with staple foods taken care of. The next thing is the lifeline of the apocalypse, drinking water. The heavy rain outside looks endless, but once the apocalypse hits, the water will be full of corpses, garbage, and germs. 1 sip could kill you. Clean drinking water is more precious than gold. I immediately contacted the largest local water station, ordered 10,000 cases of bottled mineral water, and 5,000 large barrels of purified water. Paid full for the order and got it delivered the same day. I also ordered self-heating rice, instant noodles, compressed biscuits, and all kinds of canned goods like luncheon meat, fruit, and tuna. Ordered everything at maximum stock and turned the second warehouse into a ready-to-eat zone. Every time the shipment arrives, I first take high-definition photos and record the complete specifications, then upload and archive them in the system. Simple food and instant meals aren't enough. In the apocalypse, most people are grateful just to get compressed biscuits, but I must have meat and seafood with every meal. Early the next morning, I cleared out the entire stock of the best butcher shops at the frozen food market. A wagyu, pre-sliced beef and mung rolls, freshly butchered free-range chickens and ducks, and Boston lobsters, king crabs, anything that can be frozen for storage. I bought it all. To store all these goodies, I bought 3 large side-by-side refrigerators from an electronics store in advance, plus 2 large commercial chest freezers, and installed all of them in my master bedroom suites. While taking photos and recording specs for every ingredient, I felt incredibly satisfied. Food's all done, all good. Daily necessities can't be overlooked either. Daily goods, toilet paper, facial tissues, shampoo, body wash, laundry detergents, disinfectant. I ordered them by the truckload. Turned the 3rd warehouse into a daily goods storehouse. Specially contacts, sanitary pads. This stuff, in the later days of the apocalypse, comics is an absolute hard currency you can't buy, even if you have money. I also got skincare products, cosmetics, warm clothing, waterproof, hiking jackets. Everything I could possibly need, I bought the highest quality available. I took photos as I bought, and the material library in the system kept growing. All right. We also need electricity. Without power, all storage equipment is useless. To avoid drawing unwanted attention, I got the highest spec home energy sources and delivered via flash delivery. There are still over a dozen foldable solar charging panels. Spread them on the balcony to generate power. Even if the whole city loses power, my refrigerator, lighting, and electronic devices will keep running forever. Also bought dozens of high-capacity power banks, all top spec. Thought while uploading to the system, while others live in darkness in the apocalypse, my place will always be brightly lit. After finishing this, I remembered the most crucial lifesaver: medicine. I ran to over a dozen pharmacies in the city. Cold medicine, anti-inflammatory drugs, antibiotics, painkillers, anti-allergy meds, vitamins. Anything useful, I cleared them out. To avoid suspicion, I hired over a dozen delivery guys, sending them to different pharmacies to buy these small, high-value, life-saving drugs. I locked them all in the bedroom safe. Also, uploaded high-res images and parameters of each drug to a system. With supplies stocked. The house's defenses needed another upgrade, besides 3 grade A blast doors. I applied the highest grade blast film to all windows, reinforced walls with steel plates, added multi-layer waterproofing and rainwater filtration on the roof. Self-defense gear is a must-too. Not only got top-tier competition compound bows, carbon arrows, stab-proof vests, right forks, high-lumen flashlights, hull riot shields, and other compliant civilian gear, but also stored high-res images and parameters. Of all compliant protective gear in the system for emergencies. Also hired pros to install 360-degree, no blind spot night vision cameras on floors 54, and covering hallways, elevators, stairs. If anyone tries to mess with me, I'll show you why the flowers are so red. Survival basics maxed out. Mental needs can't lag. Bought over a dozen huge capacity hard drives. Downloaded them full of movies, shows, variety shows, novels, and all kinds of single-player games. Even fitness and cooking tutorials are fully stocked. After finishing everything, I sat on the living room leather sofa, opened the system panel, looked at the neatly categorized tens of thousands of supply images and parameters, and smile, though it only generates 3 times now. Once the apocalypse hits, my permissions will grow. Then, these images will be my supply empire. 3 days left till the apocalyptic downpour. I tore open a pack of premium Wagyu beef jerky, medium heat, opened a bottle of chilled red wine, looked at the sunny city outside, feeling utterly satisfied. Just then, my best friend, Mongolian, called.
Again, I stocked up on supplies like you said, but I can't find any self-defense gear in the village. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold out when the time comes.
I frowned. Ruyan is all alone in the countryside with a huge stockpile of supplies. She's bound to attract attention from the villagers, which could be fatal in an apocalypse. Ruyan, don't be afraid. Whatever you need, I can get it ready and send it to you. Ruyan, calm down a bit.
Okay?
My fingers flew across the system's material library without a moment's hesitation. I used up all 3 quotas, generating hard-to-get items you can't buy offline. First, a full set of greatest security doors and windows. Second, 10 top-tier compound bows with matching armor-piercing carbon arrows. Third, 10 graded night vision surveillance systems with matching infrared night vision goggles. As for the other urgent items, she needed medicine, power banks, stab-proof vest. I directly pulled them from my own massive pre-stocked inventory. In less than an hour, all the scarce supplies were neatly piled in the living room. I immediately called the fastest citywide express delivery service, offered 10 times the pay and hired installation technicians on the spot. Demanded they deliver everything to my friend within 24 hours to turn her family home into an impenetrable fortress. Just as I finished arranging everything, a message from Shendra House suddenly popped up.
Sis, are the property transfer documents ready? Logging up so much stuff at home. Are you planning to never go out again?
My heart skipped a beat, but I quickly composed myself. I typed a reply. You must have the wrong person. I've been on a business trip for the past 2 days.
But I clearly saw a lot of stuff being delivered to the 55th floor.
Maybe it was for a lower floor. The property manager said the elevator was broken. Before he could reply, I sent him the pre-prepared photos of the transfer documents.
The weather forecast says there's a big storm coming in a couple of days. Let me know when you're back from your trip. I'll pick you up. Bring the transfer documents. We can swing by the housing authority.
I sneer inwardly. After all these years of buying him a car, he's never once offered to pick me up. Trying to drag me straight to the transfer office. I coldly replied, okay, and ignored him. Just after dealing with my greedy brother, Zhonggui homespeak, gentle tone.
I've wronged you. Mom, we'll make it up to you. Come home for a family dinner when you're back from your trip. I'll make your favorite shredded pork with garlic sauce.
My heart didn't stir in the slightest. Fish fragrant shredded pork was never my favorite. It was Shendraho's favorite. All these years. This is how she always eye-slapped, then a sweet date, fooling and coaxing me with fake warmth, costing me money and life. But now, I have no expectations left for her. Next day, Meng Ruyan's message popped up as expected.
All set. Take care of yourself.
While anxious heart finally settled, I looked out the window. Dark clouds had blanketed the entire city. The storm was coming fast. Morning of April 30th. A terrifying thunderclap jolted me awake, followed by the crackling downpour of rain. If I hadn't upgraded to blast-proof glass earlier, I'd be afraid the windows would shatter from the storm. In the distance, purple lightning split the leaden sky. Though it was 9 a.m., the clouds made it look like night. My phone screen was flooded with red storm warnings, urging citizens to stay indoors. But they still underestimated the storm's fury. In less than 3 hours of rain, river water surged back. The city's drainage system completely failed. Floodwaters rolled in from afar. By noon, low-lying streets were submerged. Then 2 dots, 1 yellow, 1 black, caught my eye in the distance. Grabbing binoculars, I saw in the distant water 2 people struggling over a floating log. One lost their grip and was swiftly swept away by the raging current, vanishing into the murky flood. The storm had just begun, yet life had become frighteningly fragile. Soon, the power supply failed. Blocks of low buildings went dark. Oh my, chaos, oversupplies, and disaster reports flooded in. The whole city was in crisis. And me, I was safe in my 55th floor fortress. A constant 24 degrees. Outside the window, a hellscape of churning waves and screams. Inside, warm light. Just the bubbling of hot pot. I'd just finished a safety check-in call with my bestie Ruyan. Turned laid out Wagyu and tripe across the table. Iced drinks lined up neatly. Just then, an unknown number blasted my phone. I answered. The receiver filled instantly with deafening rain and howling wind, the sloshing sound of wading through muddy water.
Sissies, you finally be picked up. You're still away on business, right? The water here is up to the ceiling. The whole family must be scattered at your place.
Shen Jian, you ungrateful wretch. You're deliberately not answering your phone. You just want to watch us drown, don't you? We found a kayak and are heading to your building. You can't shake us off.
Mom, I'm stuck out of town. My phone just charged.
Whether it's true or not, we're almost at the building. We have the keys anyway. Your apartment is about to be ours.
They actually have keys to my place. Did the locksmith turn on me?
Did he secretly give them a copy?
3 desperate people will be here any minute. If they break in, the nightmare will happen again. I pulled up the system but saw the permissions had upgraded.
The first day of the apocalypse. Daily generation limit increased to 4. Single generation limit raised to 11 items. I didn't hesitate. Used 1 charge immediately to generate a full set of defensive gear. Then I thoroughly checked all the exits. First, I deadbolted all 3 locks on the 3 blast doors. Then I drew all the blackout curtains, hiding the safe room in darkness through a pre-made passage. When I slept into the monitoring room installed in apartment 502 across the hall, I watched the door. 4 hours later, 3 people, soaked and covered in mud, crawled their way up to the 55th floor. They collapsed, panting at my door. After resting a few minutes, Zhang Weihong lunged forward first. She pulled out a key and jammed it into the lock, but it wouldn't turn. The door didn't budge. She lost it.
When did that brat change the lock?
So, they had the key to the old door. My fear vanished. Unless they blow it up.
They're not getting in.
Mom, call her. Ask for the door code.
The call went through instantly. My usual ringtone
Ring out clearly. From apartment 550 don't. From them, all 3 snapped their heads around. Their eyes locked on the door I was behind.
I grabbed a spare phone, set the same ringtone.
Cranked the volume and held it against the inside of the 5VCO2 door.
Then I slipped back through the passage.
And answered the call by the window in apartment 50VCOC.
Thunder crashed outside.
My voice, mixed with wind and rain, came through. Mom, what's wrong?
Are you in 500 field out 2 right now? You little brat. You never left town, did you?
How could I be? I'm still on a business trip out of town. Besides, my apartment has always been 5ICO8 all letter. Why would I be in 5COZLO? The other end of the line? That idiot Shen Zhihao really fell for my bluff. They dragged his mom over, shouting frantically.
Mom, listen. The phone in 5502 is still ringing. It's definitely not her. Don't jump to conclusions.
Fine, I don't care if you're out of town or not. Give me the door code right now. Your brother, his wife and me, we're soaked and freezing out here.
Oh, Mom, what bad timing. I haven't set a code for this place yet. I always use a key. I'm stuck out of town.
I can't exactly fly back with a key, can I?
No code? You're doing this on purpose. I raised you, changed your diapers. Now you've made it. Bought a big house, and you just let your own mother and brother freeze. Besides, this house should be Haha's anyway. You heartless monster.
Listening to her hysterical curses. 20 years of being exploited and emotionally.
Blackmailed came flooding back.
The last shred of that pathetic, foolish family bond.
Shattered into dust. Had enough.
What are you gonna do? I'm not opening it. As I spoke,
I blocked that number too.
I turned and leaned against the monitor screen, picking up a glass of chilled red wine for a slow sip. On screen, the 3 drowned rats completely lost it.
I raised you for nothing. All my hard work. This is how you repay your mother.
Shen Zhihao's eyes were red with desperation. All reason gone.
He found a wrist-thick iron rod from somewhere.
I started madly smashing the glass door.
Dull, thunderous bangs echoed wildly in the hallway.
The skin on Shen Zhihao's palm split from gripping the rod, but the grade A blast door he was throwing his whole body against
didn't get a single scratch. Watching his useless, furious display,
Lin Weiwei trembled with rage, snatched the rod,
and hurled it to the ground.
Shen Zhihao, have you lost your mind? It's not working. You're just wasting energy. This whole building is full of all sorts now. Do you want everyone to know we're on the 55th floor? Bring them here to steal our stuff.
Zhang Guihong slumped on the floor nearby, slapping her thighs and wailing. What a family. They used to live like parasites, sucking my blood to look human. Now, in this apocalyptic flood, they're just 3 stray dogs, putting on a dog-eat-dog show outside my door. I thought
they'd last the night in the hallway's chill.
But the change on the monitor came faster than I expected. Zhang Guihong, who was just wailing, suddenly collapsed, clutching her head, motionless. Shen Zhihao panicked, lunging at her like a madman. The moment his hand touched her forehead, the scorching heat scared him out of his wits, holding his unconscious mother.
Firm sobbing before his cries faded.
A sharp crack sounded.
Lin Weiwei slapped his left cheek. Half his face swelled instantly, leaving him dazed on the spot.
Shen Zhihao, what kind of man are you? You cry over the smallest thing. Your mom's burning up unconscious. Instead of thinking, you just wail, I must have been blind. To fall for a coward like you.
The man who once bossed me around, so full of himself, now had his temper slapped right out of him. After a few seconds of stunned silence, he actually started rolling to Lin, apologizing meekly. Watching from the monitor,
I felt nothing but disgust.
So, he's always been a bully who fears the strong. With me, who gave him everything, he was all claws and demands. He was all teeth and demands with me, who gave him my all, will face someone tougher, with a stronger presence, and he turns into a spineless jellyfish. Outside, Lin Weiwei didn't even want his apology. Her face was pure contempt. Just then, on the 54th floor feed, a door opened. A burly dark figure was climbing the cold steps toward the 55th floor. The figure's face came into view. It was Zhang Biao, the local thug boss, looting during the disaster. In my dream, it was this Zhang Biao who offered 2 crates of crackers and a crate of water as a bride price for me. Dong Guihong and Shen Zhihao at first put on airs, pretending to hesitate. But Lin Weiwei, rubbing her belly, lied, claiming she carried the Shen family heir for the sake of my unborn child. She cried and begged me to marry. Zhang Guihong immediately started pretending to persuade me, saying that with Zhang Biao, I'd be safe and have supplies. But they clearly knew exactly what kind of man Zhang Biao was, yet they still wanted me to marry him. The vivid dream and its feelings disrupted my emotions. I had originally planned to send the fear-reducing resin outside, but that thought completely vanished. In the surveillance footage, after Zhang Biao reached the 55th floor, he glanced at the 3 disheveled people in the hallway. His gaze finally locked onto Lin Weiwei's soaked, clean clothes. His eyes were full of greed.
This is my wife. Get lost now. I have favorite medicine, compressed biscuits, clean water. If you come with me, serve me well, all these things will be yours.
As soon as he said that, the air in the hallway froze instantly. In the footage, Shen Zhihao's whole body stiffened. He subconsciously clenched his fists. But looking up at Zhang Biao's bulging muscles,
His raised hand was forced back down.
Lin Weiwei's face turned deathly pale. She instinctively took half a step back. The ferocity she had when slapping Shen Zhihao earlier was now replaced by unmistakable fear. Right then, Zhang Guihong suddenly let out a pained moan. Her whole body convulsed twice, on the verge of collapse. Lin Weiwei snapped back to reality. She grabbed Shen Zhihao's arm.
Shen Zhihao, say something. Your mom can't hold on much longer. Do something.
But what about Shen Zhihao? He stared at the menacing Zhang Biao, his legs trembling. Forget about fighting back. They didn't even have the courage to look Zhang Biao in the eye. Watching the scene on the monitor, I laughed out loud. Before, for his own benefit, it had drained his own sister's lifeblood for over 20 years. Now, when it was his own wife and mother's turn, he was just as useless. Even more ironic, Lin Weiwei, who in the dream urged the whole family to trade me like goods, was now the bargaining chip herself. And me, I was sitting in my 24-degree, climate-controlled safe fortress, sipping milk tea, eating fruit, coldly, watching the Karmic retribution outside. In the surveillance feed, Zhang Guihong's moans grew weaker and weaker. It was clear she wouldn't last much longer.
I don't have patience to waste. You have 3 minutes to decide. Either she comes with me willingly and you get the supplies to live. Or I take her by force and you get nothing. Okay, I agree, but bring me the supplies and medicine first. Hand over the goods first.
Lin Weiwei froze on the spot. I stared at the surveillance screen in utter disbelief. I watched Zhang Biao like he was heaving a piece of burden. Harry Lin Weiwei was crying and struggling straight down the stairs. Shen Zhihao just stood there motionless, clutching that half box of fever reducer and 2 packs of compressed biscuits. His whole body was shaking like a leaf. He didn't even have the guts to step forward and stop it. Not long after, Zhang Guihong, who had taken the fever reducer, woke up coughing. He glanced at the compressed biscuits on the ground and asked the Shen Zhihao where they came from. She knew her son had treated his daughter-in-law for life-saving medicine. Even if she wasn't furious, she always had at least a guilt. But I never accepted. After hearing the whole story, she just nodded numbly.
Ha ha, you've wronged. Once we get through this tough time, Mom will find you a better one.
But one sentence crushed the last bit of expectation I had for human nature into dust. On the surveillance screen, Shen Zhihao listened to the ambiguous sounds coming from downstairs, mixed with Lin Weiwei's intermittent cries. His face turned as dark as coal, tears mixing with the dirt on his face and streaming down. But he didn't resist at all. He just clenched the compressed biscuits in his hand tightly and stuffed them into his mouth bite by bite. Zhang Guihong sat off to the side, watching her son like this. She didn't comfort him even a little. Instead, she just kept complaining, calling Lin Wei a barren hen that couldn't lay eggs. Said it was good. She was gone. She had no their misfortune.
On my head.
It's all your good-for-nothing sister's fault. If she hadn't locked the door and refused to let us in, how would we have ended up in this mess?
By this point, I stopped paying them any mind. Instead, I slowly turned the A5 Wagyu on my grill. Golden fat dripped down onto the charcoal, and instantly a richer meaty aroma billowed up. Just then, in the surveillance feed, Shen Zhihao suddenly twisted his nose sharply. His originally dull eyes lit up in an instant. He whipped his head around to look at Zhang Guihong, his voice shaking with uncontrollable trembling and greed. Mom, can you smell that? It smells like grilled meat. Zhang Guihong was stunned for a second.
Then she also sniffed hard at the rich, meaty aroma drifting through the air.
Craving burst out in her clouded old eyes, and she nodded hurriedly. The next second, they practically scrambled on all fours, drawn by the tantalizing aroma of meat. Like madmen, they crowded outside my door at room 5501. Within a half a minute of the meaty scent seeping through the crack, a frenzied pounding erupted outside the door.
Shenzhen, don't you hide in there and ignore us. I raised you with so much hardship. Unless it's how you repay your own mother.
Shenzhen, you watched me trade Weiwei to Zhang Biao with your own eyes. You stood by and did nothing. Are you even human?
I've sacrificed 20 years for you all. When have you ever shown me any pity? I worked hard to earn money for your education, to buy you a car, and now you won't even leave my own home alone. I've helped you time and again out of soft-heartedness.
And you still want all my savings? Now you come asking me why?
And then I was wrong. We know we were wrong. Open the door. Let us in to get warm. We'll never force you again. Ever.
I was wrong. I don't want the house. I won't fight for supplies. Please open the door and save us. We're freezing to death.
Stop pretending. I heard you cursing me in the hallway just now. I heard every word of your plan to rush in and seize the house and supplies. Forget about coming in. Impossible. Instantly. Their masks dropped. Their faces twisted with rage. The next second, Shen Zhihao charged downstairs like a madman.
Brother Biao, my sister's apartment upstairs is packed with supplies. And she's exactly your type too.
On the monitor, I saw Shen Zhihao funnily knocking on the door of 5401 downstairs. He saw Lin Weiwei, covered in wounds, answer the door. Shen Zhihao didn't offer a single word of comfort.
He just turned and groveled up to Zhang Biao, handing over my photo.
Brother Biao, we just found out my sister's been hiding out home all along. She's ordered a huge stash of supplies. If you don't believe me, go upstairs and smell. The scent of roasted meat is still there.
Zhang Biao's greedy eyes instantly turned bloodshot.
Brother Biao, I tried before. Ordinary clubs can't break that door. We need reinforcements.
Seeing Zhang Biao's smug grin, I frowned slightly, a flicker of worry in my heart. The next second, Zhang Biao sneered and pulled out a box of homemade explosives. Confidently, he started walking up to the 55th floor. Because when I was preparing protective gear earlier, I had collected images and specs. I recognized the volatile explosive in Zhang Biao's hand at a glance. I immediately called up the system, instantly exchanged for a rifle weapon. Gripping it in one hand, the other hand had already activated the pre-prepared, high-intensity riot flashlight switch. On the very first day of reinforcing the safe house, I had this Class A, anti-theft security, door reinforced with extra impact protection. Ordinary homemade hazardous materials couldn't even budget. Watching Zhang Biao crouch by the door, frantically setting up the explosives, I immediately prepared to use electricity to deter him. But just then, an accident happened. While placing the explosives, Zhang Biao fumbled and tossed his lighter, triggering an instant explosion. A deafening roar instantly swept through the hallway, yet the iron door didn't budge an inch. Zhang Biao outside the door was immediately injured in the blast, losing his ability to move. Shen Zhihao, Zhang Guihong, and Lin Weiwei, who had just caught up, were also knocked to the ground by the shockwave. Shameless.
Shenzhen, this is intentional harm.
He came with explosives to rob my house, to take my supplies. What's wrong with me barricading myself for protection? Unlike you, who personally led the wolves to our doorstep. How is that any different from intentional harm?
I was wrong. Mom was really wrong. Let your mom in. Save your mom's life. Mom will never show favoritism again.
But in my heart, there was no longer a single ripple of emotion. Back when they made a scene at my company, forcing me head over all my scenes for Shen. She got a car and an apartment. Why didn't they think about giving me a way to survive? Expressionless. I closed the inner door. But the moment I turned around, the image on the surveillance screen made my pupils contract sharply. Shen Zhihao, who moments ago was scared out of his wits, was now step by step heading towards Zhang Biao's corpse, walking over.
Haha, are you crazy? That's a body. Come back.
But Shen Zhihao, as if possessed, crashed down frantically. No matter how Zhang Guihong cried and screamed, he wouldn't stop. Just when everyone thought he'd lost his mind, he suddenly burst into maniacal laughter.
Mom, we have a home. We have supplies.
Without looking back, he dragged the trembling Zhang Guihong and Lin Weiwei and plunged straight into Zhang Biao's apartment on the 54th floor. They never came out again. For the next 6 months, the three members of the Shen family never showed their faces. But the disaster outside remained severe. The floodwaters surged relentlessly up to the 30th floor. My river water has emerged over half the city. Many affected residents are using assault boats, searching through floodwaters for trapped people and transporting supplies. Internet signals are intermittent. Official rescue teams are working tirelessly on search and rescue operations. Survivors from the entire building are frantically rushing to higher floors. The stairwell is filled with the pleas and cries of disaster victims. But I've remained unshaken throughout these 6 months. I've called Ruyan daily to report my safety, encouraging each other through this endless apocalyptic darkness. I've maintained my daily fitness training and honed my shooting skills, mastering the system-generated equipment to perfection, while monitoring 360-degree surveillance around the clock. Taking every woman in the building on close watch. I knew from the start this 55-story fortress couldn't remain impregnable forever. As more fleeing neighbors gathered, conditions in the stairwell grew increasingly chaotic. I didn't remain a cold-blooded bystander, nor did I become a self-sacrificing pushover. I organized the opening of Bacon Unit 5503, providing temporary shelter for refugees. Simultaneously, I established strict rules and formed a guard team, rationing food per person with no exceptions for extra portions, and forbidding any external disclosure. Within just 3 days, the chaotic stairwell was brought under complete control. And so, we endured another 5 months. The system's daily picture to item conversion has reached 179 items, with individual item generation counts reaching 286. The system's daily resource generation is now sufficient to supply the entire building's residents. Floodwaters have risen to the 40th floor, with only a handful of buildings still visible above water. Until the 11th month of the downpour, the relentless patter of rain finally ceased. The entire building erupted in deafening cheers. Everyone rushed to the windows, gazing at the finally clear sky, shouting and shouting that we'd survived, that the apocalypse was over. But standing before the 55th floor-to-ceiling window, telescope raised toward the distance, my blood ran cold. Across the distant mountain ranges, blinding white snowstorms had engulfed the entire forest, advancing at visible speed toward this flood-drowned dead city, sweeping everything in their path. The apocalyptic rain had just stopped, only to be replaced by deadly cold, more fatal than the floods. My 24-degree climate-controlled safe fortress would soon become every survivor's desperate target. But what I never anticipated was that before the cold catastrophe arrived, I'd first face Shen Zhihao's betrayal. In the surveillance footage, he frantically clings to the 54th floor window, screaming at the fugitives in the distant speedboat.
There are supplies in the building. The woman on the 55th floor has endless supplies and protective gear.
The guards I arranged rushed in immediately, pinning him down hard, but his words had already carried on the wind.
Crystal clear to the fugitives outside.
The next moment, over a dozen assault boats instantly turned, engine roars making the water tremble. A group of bloodshot-eyed fugitives charged madly toward the building, shouting to loot all supplies, slaughter everyone inside. The survivors sheltering inside erupt into chaos. Cries and screams blend into a mess. Those following rules moments ago now panic. Some even try to rush over, grab my supplies, and flee. But I remain calm, expression unchanged. A flick of my finger brings up the system panel. Daily generation permissions maxed out. As the thought forms, Matrixy sets of rise shields, stab vest, composition compound, boss and matching carbon arrows pile up, filling the room.
Those who want to survive, gear up. Hold every window above the 40th floor.
Not one step back, my order is sharp, action decisive. No hesitation at all. Weapons are distributed to all able forces in the building, though none have professional training, relying on the hallway's terrain advantage, and the ample equipment supply. They quickly repel the leading assault boats. Charging fugitives can't even get close. The rest are stunned, dare not advance further. Their earlier arrogance vanishes completely. The fugitive leader in the distance is utterly intimidated, immediately raises a white flag, calls for a halt, shouts across the floodwaters to negotiate.
You supply us monthly. We protect this building. Keep you safe.
People in the building are tempted, gather to urge me to agree, saying less trouble is better. Get through the immediate crisis first. I ignore the noise around me, fingers rapidly calculating supply ratios, need to temporarily placate them, but never feed a future threat. But just then, a deafening roar explodes. The whole building violently shakes. Floor beneath me cracks. Chandelier overhead smashes down. Glass shards fly. The building is collapsing. Chaos and screams erupt in the hallway. The remaining survivors panic, scrambling for the exit. Someone lunged madly toward the elevator, slamming the button over and over. Another person clawed at the window, ready to jump straight into the floodwaters. He was yanked back hard by his family beside him. I was shaken and stumbled half a step back. I immediately grabbed the cracked wall to steady myself. My fingers flew to my earpiece right away. All units, attention. The underwater load-bearing structure of the building has been hit. The whole building is going to collapse floor by floor. All on-duty guards, take positions at the stairwell entrances. Guide all survivors to evacuate to the rooftop. The elevator shaft is already flooded and deformed. If you don't want to get squashed into meat paste, stay far away from it. Jumping from a dozen stories up is no different from slamming into concrete. The water is full of rebar debris. Jumping down is a death sentence. Team 1 goes first to clear the path and unlock the rooftop gate ahead of time. Secure cover inside of the fence. Team 2 stays back with me to provide cover. The rooftop gate must stay open at all times. The on-duty guards immediately raised their riot shields and held the stairwell. They yelled at the top of their lungs to keep order and directed the panicking crowd into the stairwell in batches. Elderly and children stay on the inside. No pushing, no stampeding. But Shen Zhihao didn't listen to a single word of the order. His eyes were blood red. He shoved the people in front of him aside like a madman.
Get the fuck out of my way. Don't stop me from surviving.
Zhang Guihong was knocked off balance and fell hard onto the step. A long gash sliced open her calf from flying rubble. The pain turned her face deathly pale.
Oh, wait for Mom. Mom's leg can't move. Give Mom a hand.
Wei Wei huddled in the stair landing, watching Shen Zhihao's disappearing back, then glanced at Zhang Guihong slumped on the ground. She gritted her teeth, hurried over, and half dragged, half helped the woman to her feet.
On fails walk. We won't make it if we are late.
Another dull roar exploded from downstairs. Flood water surged wildly up the stairwell. The wave crest almost reached people's feet. The cracks on the walls grew wider and wider. Large chunks of cement crashed down from overhead. I stayed at the back of the mine the whole time, checking for any straggler survivors, while keeping an eye on how fast the collapse was progressing behind us. Driven by his desperate will to survive, Shen Zhihao was the first to burst through the half-open fire door. He stumbled onto the 60th floor rooftop, but more than a dozen inflatable rescue boats were already surrounding the building. They had the rooftop completely locked down. Luckily, there was a full row of concrete structures along either side of the rooftop. Ventilation pipes from the equipment room, and several large outdoor air conditioning units, which formed a natural cover. Yet Shen Zhihao didn't run for the cover. Instead, he lunged to the rooftop edge, tore off his white tank top, and waved it frantically.
Do not attack. I surrender. My sister is Shen Zhian. I know all her plans. She has supplies for hundreds of people.
The desperado leader puffed on a cigarette.
Boss, this kid knows the inside scoop. Keep him as a mole. The snake that would sell out his own sister today will sell you out tomorrow.
He raised his bow, knocked an arrow, and pulled the trigger in one fluid motion. The carbon fiber arrow struck Shen Zhihao's leg with pinpoint accuracy. He collapsed at the rooftop's edge, immobilized. The desperado leader raised a megaphone, his voice cold as ice.
A warning to everyone in the building. Try any tricks with me. And this is what happens.
Just then, Zhang Guihong, supported by Lin Weiwei, had just reached the rooftop when she saw Shen Zhihao lying in a pool of blood. Zhang Guihong rushed over like a mad woman.
What happened to you?
Mom, help me. It hurts.
The entire building shuddered violently again. Floors 58 and below collapsed one by one into the flood. Only 3 tilted floors remained above the water. Over 400 survivors crowded together. Inside the 3 floors and the inner rooftop, facing the menacing desperados, a fear of death gripped everyone. I had just reached the rooftop when Zhang Guihong scrambled over to my feet.
And please, Annie, you have a medikit. Save your brother.
I glanced at Shen Zhihao, still breathing in the blood.
Everyone, listen up. Get behind cover. Backs against the server room ventilation ducts. Guard teams, form 3 defensive lines. Protect the elderly and children in the rear. Aim at the water. Prepare to return fire. The guards sprang into action, quickly deploying weapons for defense. They ushered the survivors in an orderly fashion behind cover. Zhang Guihong watched my retreating back as I gave orders, holding Shen Zhihao, our eyes filled with complex emotions. Then, engine roars came from the assault boats on the water outside. A barrage of carbon fiber arrows rained down on the rooftop, chipping concrete and sending debris flying from the server room. I raised my bow, aimed at the lead assault boat, and fired. It struck a desperado's arm with perfect accuracy. Everyone, find cover. Prepare to board and counterattack. My eyes hardened. With a flick of my finger, I summoned the system panel. I swiftly navigated to the materials library. The instant my thought solidified, our Shibatsu reinforced assault boats were matched and deployed. Protective gear, helmets, and bulletproof vests lined up along the water surrounding the building. People upstairs quickly split into 2 teams. One team boarded the boats, the other fought back to cover us, and the situation gradually came under control. Only then had every hand to treat Shen Zhihao's wound. But just at that moment, the building suddenly let out a shrill creak of breaking steel. The entire structure shook, and the rooftop tilted sharply. Zhang Guihong was thrown violent to the ground. Shen Zhihao, who she had been holding in her arms, started sliding down the floor, heading uncontrollably toward the edge. Zhang Guihong reached out like a madwoman to grab him.
Hold on.
Shinjahao's barely breathing.
She didn't even have the strength to lift his hand. His shirt tore open.
And his whole body plunged into the murky floodwaters below. The wave surged twice and swallowed him in an instant. Zhang Guihong crawled to the edge of the rooftop, staring at the empty flood.
It's all your fault. Why wouldn't you save him earlier?
The real culprits were the attacking outlaws' leader. It was just an accident in this apocalypse. Yet she habitually pushed all the blame onto me. I was consumed by icy coldness and ignored Zhang Guihong, turning to board the boat and take command of the situation. By this time, most survivors had already boarded the boats and counterattacked. With absolute equipment superiority, the outlaws who had been so arrogant just moments ago scattered and fled immediately. I scanned the crowd and saw Zhang Guihong slumped in the assault boat, clutching Shenjiahao's torn shirt, crying silently. And next to her, Ling Wei
Looked at me with calculation shining in her eyes.
I didn't have time to care about what they were thinking. The top priority was getting everyone out of this ruins. I immediately organized a team of nearly 400 people into a higher aid cook management structure, laid down strict rules, distributed matching flags and insignia, then stood at the bow, lifted the megaphone, my voice cutting over the roar of the engine.
Everyone listen up.
The mountains ahead are our only way to survive. Extreme cold is coming very soon. We have to reach and hold the high ground before the flood freezes over. First squad scouts ahead. Second squad escorts supplies. Third squad covers the rear. Everyone follows the rules. Anyone who disobeys will be kicked out of the team. There were no objections from the crowd. Only agreement rising up again and again.
If we follow her, we'll survive.
My young mother nodded hard at me, and the eyes of everyone full of life-entrusting trust and admiration. At my command, a fleet of over 100 assault boats majestically cut through the murky floodwaters and sped toward the distant mountains at full throttle. The muddy flood was littered with debris from buildings. High-rise structures grew increasingly sparse along the way. Survivors huddled on tiny patches of rooftop, awaited rescue numbly. But upon spotting our fleet, they screamed for help. Frowning, I immediately ordered rescue operations.
The fleet instantly erupted in chaos.
Shanjie, be careful. These people are strangers to us. Rescuing them will only thin out our ration. Don't be a bleeding heart. We're lucky to be alive ourselves. How can we afford to care about others?
I'm Shanjie, and why are you out here? And I have the means to keep everyone alive. If we abandon these defenseless people today, tomorrow, it could be you who gets cast aside. I laid down an iron rule on the spot. All who join must follow orders. Work for food. Those who incite unrest or sack off get tossed into the flood. My word silenced the crowd. We successfully took in all survivors, but our numbers swelled. The assault boats were instantly packed to the brim. The one who opposed earlier jumped out again, sneering.
Anyone can talk big. Now there's no room on the boats. Let's see how you plan to feed this crowd.
Panic spread instantly, doubts rising all around.
How is the command detected? Image generation activated.
A flash of white light and 287 reinforced large yachts appeared neatly, covering the entire water surface. Dead silence fell. The one who was jeering moments ago slumped onto his boat, and everyone's eyes looking at me now. There was only absolute awe and submission. But just as everyone was boarding, deep in the murky floodwater, several shadowy figures radiating killing intent sped toward our yacht fleet.
Rapidly closing in.
All positions ready. My fingers already gripping the bowstring. High waters, ill voice, main force, force, prepare to break through. Young Wei suddenly let out a hysterical shriek.
This woman has a system that can materialize supplies out of thin air. Capture her, and you'll have anything you want from now on.
The moment the words left his mouth, over a dozen thug assault boats from all directions instantly turned, all weapons aimed squarely at me. An arrow whistled past, grazing my scalp. The splash it kicked up forced me back onto the assault boat. A comrade beside me anxiously threw himself in front to block arrows. My own mother wants me dead. Yet a stranger risks his life to protect me. A wave of bleak sorrow washed over me with a deep sigh. I jerked the steering wheel hard, executing a sharp drift straight into the adjacent. The stretch of water dotted with underwater ruins. The thugs behind me burst into uproarious laughter, thinking I panicked and chosen a path to my doom. They gunned their engines, chasing like mad. Little did they know, well before setting out, I'd scoped this place with binoculars. Every underwater obstacle, every current. The system generated a top-tier assault boat. Reinforced armor plating, long-range armor-piercing arrows, originally meant for scouting and rescue. Now, this ruin zone is their grave.
The moment they swarmed into the ruins,
I dropped pre-purchased nets and obstacles into the water. The system's high-strength fishing nets tidally tangled their propellers. Hidden underwater obstacles smashed their hulls. A dozen assault boats instantly lost control, crashing one after another into submerged debris. Thugs screamed, falling into the murky flood, struggling to stay afloat. I stood in the stern, drawing the compound bow, my gaze ice cold. Armor-piercing carbon arrows whistled through the air, each hitting its mark. Every shot precisely destroyed their still-running engines. Counterattack as planned. At my command, the team snapped into action. Using the yacht's armor plates for cover, they fired an order. In under 10 minutes, all pursuing assault boats were disabled. Surviving thugs floundered in the floodwaters, too weak to fight back. My team emerged unscathed, successfully wiped out the thugs. A complete victory. The team erupted in cheers, but my hand gripping the bow didn't relax one bit. I stared straight at Zhang Guihong, slumped on the yacht deck. Watched her for a few seconds, trying to see a hint of remorse. But not only was there none, her eyes were filled with bone-deep hatred.
I never should have given birth to you. Otherwise, Hao wouldn't have. You'll pay with your life for Hao.
I stood frozen, my blood running cold.
My teammates instantly closed ranks, shielding me firmly. Guns aimed squarely at Zhang Guihong, barking orders to stop her from taking another step. Seeing her utterly hopeless state, the last shred of hope I held for blood ties shattered completely.
Lock her in the lower level brig.
No one releases her without my order. Two team members immediately stepped forward, grabbing Zhang Guihong from both sides. No one paid her any mind. No matter how she struggled and screamed, seeing resistance was futile, she went limp. But the next second,
she summoned all her strength, breaking free.
Go keep Hao company.
I sensed a sudden gust of wind behind me and instinctively dodged to the side. She lunged at empty air, unable to stop her momentum. She shot straight over the railing and plunged headfirst into the murky floodwaters. A large crimson stain of blood slowly spread across the surface. My heart sank. I immediately ordered, get in the water, save her.
2 crew members jumped in and hauled her out. She lay on the deck, soaked through. A penetrating wound in her chest bled profusely.
I immediately told our onboard medical staff to perform emergency treatment. Simultaneously, I accessed the system to generate a full set of emergency medical supplies and equipment. A deathly silence fell over the entire yacht. Everyone was stunned into silence by this sudden, unexpected turn of events. I stood there,
Fingers slightly stiff, watching the failed rescue on the deck.
my heart was a whirlwind of emotions. A lifetime of exploitation and betrayal. Frogging sweet talk into emptying my savings. To being pushed to the brink time and again by emotional blackmail. All that enmity had in this way temporarily come to an end. I thought I'd feel triumphant, but my heart was just hollow. That sliver of familial love I'd once foolishly hoped for was never, from the very beginning, mine. As my emotions churned, Lin Weiwei in the corner showed not a hint of grief over losing her husband and mother-in-law. In those eyes that were always teary and innocent, dark, calculating schemes were brewing. Over the next 2 days, the water's surface was calm, but the undercurrents never ceased. We followed our planned course forward, rescuing 72 survivors, trapped on rooftops along the way, added to our original 400-plus core members. Our fleet's numbers swelled to 500. I stuck to the rules, using the system to requisition supplies as needed. Rations and cold weather gear were distributed based on contribution and headcount. These numbers had priority. New survivors who were willing to work, who never go hungry or freeze. The crew who followed me from the 55th floor were utterly loyal. Most of the newcomers
We're grateful for the rescue.
The whole group was orderly, but fate is fickle.
The outside temperature plummeted overnight.
The murky floodwaters froze into a thick sheet of solid ice. Our entire fleet was locked in place, unable to move an inch. A wave of panicked murmurs rose around us. The newcomers, who'd never experienced the apocalypse chaos, turned pale, but I wasn't worried at all. Long before we set out, I anticipated the extreme cold that would follow the downpour. The system's material library already had the complete blueprints and specs for heavy icebreakers stored. With a single thought, a flash of system light, 3 heavy icebreakers, fitted with reinforced steel plates,
And fully fueled.
appeared neatly on the ice ahead of the fleet. I immediately assigned my most trusted veteran crew to lead them. Each ship equipped with elite security, stocked with emergency rations, weapons, ammo, and cold weather gear. They were to break the ice and lead the way. The main fleet followed steadily behind. But for all my planning, I never expected Lin Weiwei to turn some of the people against us. She boarded the icebreakers first. A piercing alarm suddenly blared.
Icebreaker 1 has mutinied.
The lead icebreaker, number 1, abruptly turned its bow, its sharp, ice-breaking prow, aimed directly at my main yacht. Then, Lin Weiwei's shrill, venomous voice echoed through the broadcast to every corner of the fleet.
Brothers, season Shenzhen, and the endless resources are ours alone. No more bowing to others. No more scraping by on measly ration shares. What skills does Shenzhen even have? That's got lucky. Awaken the lousy system. Besides conjuring things from thin air, what qualifies her to lead? Why does she get the best cabin, the best food, while we all leave at her mercy?
Her words sent a shockwave through the fleet, but not everyone was swayed. My old crew, who fought their way up from the 55th floor with me, instantly raised their weapons, aiming squarely at Icebreaker 1.
They formed a tight circle around me, unwavering.
Most survivors who journeyed with us,
Those who owed me their lives also tightened their grip on their weapons.
watching the agitators coldly. Only a few troublemakers, recently rescued and rotten at heart,
To my punished for hoarding supplies.
were blinded by Lin Weiwei's empty promises. They raised their weapons against us. Tensions snapped taut in an instant. The air on the ice seemed to freeze. Protected at the center, I didn't even flinch. I'll ask everyone 3 questions. First,
The system is mine. Kill me.
and who will conjure your food, clothes, weapons?
Lin Weiwei.
She'd even use her own husband and mother-in-law.
You are counting on her to bail you out?
Second, from the moment I led you out of that collapsing building until now,
Have I ever let you go hungry? When danger came,
did I ever push you out as a shield? With me in charge, you've been able to live safely and collect supplies. But if she takes over, do you think
you can outfight those armed desperados?
Third, if Lin Weiwei can betray me today, what's to stop her from betraying you tomorrow? 3 sentences, each one a fatal blow. The few who were getting restless instantly froze in place. Seeing the tide had turned, Lin Weiwei went completely berserk. A sharp, piercing shriek came through the broadcast.
Ram it. Ram her to death. Once Shenzhen is Ed's dead, everything will be ours.
The 1,000-ton icebreaker, at full throttle, charged like a mad beast toward the main yacht. Everyone around me paled, but I just smirked coldly. Did you really think I'd hand over the icebreaker that holds the fleet's fate without any safeguards? The moment that icebreaker was built, I installed a remote shutdown device.
In its engine room,
I noticed Lin Weiwei's secret plotting these past few days, and left this weakness on purpose.
to flush out all the traitors in one go.
All yachts, full speed reverse. A minute after the order, I pressed the shutdown button on the remote.
The speeding icebreaker instantly lost power.
Frozen on the ice, unable to move. My team immediately approached on assault boats, dragged out the defeated Lin Weiwei, and threw her at my feet.
Why do you get to have all the good things? Why were you born with a system, a home, and everyone's loyalty? What makes you so much better than me?
Because I never covet what isn't mine. Because I wouldn't sell my soul to survive.
Or sell out the people around me. You, from start to finish.
Only thought about climbing over others' corpses. Ending up like this.
is exactly what you deserve. As my words fell, I ordered her and all the traitors expelled from the team, leaving them only basic survival supplies to fend for themselves. But just as I was about to assign people to clean up and reorganize, a panicked voice suddenly crackled over the walkie-talkie.
Sure, bad news. A massive blizzard is approaching from the northwest. We're trapped on the ice in sub-zero temperatures. We'll freeze to death.
The 2 remaining icebreakers, full speed ahead, all yachts. Stay tight in formation. Don't fall behind. The roar of engines instantly filled the frozen plain. I immediately dialed Meng Ruyan on the satellite phone. Ruyan, a super blizzard is coming. Can your place take the 500 people I have?
My villa basement included can squeeze in 50 at most. The village has empty houses, but the villagers might not open their doors, and our cold weather supplies can't possibly support this many.
The faces around me turned pale, whispers of despair rising again, but I had a backup plan. My voice firm, Ruyan.
Notify the whole village right now. Anyone willing to take in one person gets double the supplies.
Food, warm gear, all you need. No holding back. I glanced at my system panel. 283 daily generation charges. Max output per charge, 291 items. 500 people, even another 500. I can cover it, no problem. Silence fell. The panicked crew from moments ago now had a flicker of hope in their eyes. The frozen wasteland was dead silent. Frozen remains as far as the eye could see. No obstacles, no interference. In less than 2 hours, we reached the foot of the high-altitude mountain. I raised my hand, a flash of white light from the system, and talked to your cold weather gear lay neatly spread across the ice. Everyone suited up quickly. I stared into the valley's depths, ordering gruffly into the mountains. With 500 survivors, we entered the dense forest over 10 minutes. A blizzard crashed down, blanketing everything in blinding white. Visibility dropped below 10 meters. Panic erupted. Cries mixed with the howling wind. Unfazed, I activated the system with a touch, instantly exchanging for 100 radio compasses and high-powered night vision scopes. Everyone listen up. Form groups of 10. Link hands within your group. Keep 10 meters between squads. Anyone who falls behind gets left. After an hour of marching, pox complaints started in the ranks.
We can't get out in this cursed weather. We'll freeze to death in these mountains. We should have stayed on the yachts. Where are you even leading us?
Anyone who doesn't want to go, turn back now and wait for death. If you want to live, shut up and keep up. Anyone else who demoralizes the group will be treated as a traitor. Instant silence. Those who had been shouting shrank back, not daring to utter another word.
Half an hour ahead lay the safe zone.
There's food and shelter there. A safe fortress to take refuge in. Survival hinges on this final leg. Morale reignited, the team pushes on. They press forward through the blizzard. Half an hour later, warm yellow light suddenly pierce the snowstorm. The familiar village outline appears. The next second, a familiar figure bursts through the storm, sprinting towards me, through the raging snow. Running straight for me is my best friend, Meng Ruyan. In 2 lifetimes, only she has ever been truly good to me. I break from the team and run to meet her. We embrace. My heart, tense the whole journey, finally settles. I lead the team into the village. Villagers wielding sickles swarm forward, faces full of suspicion.
Girl, Mom, bringing so many outsiders. Would you trying to doom our whole village? We won't take them. Our own food is scarce. No extract to feed freeloaders.
The survivors behind me instantly bristle. Balls are raised. The clash seems imminent. I activate my personal alarm. First rule.
If my people harm a villager, they're out on the spot.
Second rule.
Villagers causing trouble or stealing supplies, supplies get cut.
Third, any household taking someone in gets double rations, warm coats, paid up front, guaranteed. As I speak, a system flash, crates of rice, flour, oil, and worm, supplies instantly cover the village square. The villagers who moments ago wanted us gone now rush forward, scrambling to register, take people, claim supplies. The old man who protested loudest is first, demanding to take in 3 strong lads. I immediately assign staff to register everyone. The chaotic crowd quickly becomes orderly. Everyone settled. I follow Ruyan to her home.
And you've lost so much weight. Was the journey very hard?
I shake my head with a smile. My gaze sweeps the table. Half a dry cornbread bun and a tiny bowl of pickles. My heart aches. The table is instantly covered. Wagyu beef, seafood, fresh fruits, and her favorite strawberry cream cake. It all appears in a flash. Meng Ruyan stares at the feast before her, frozen in place, disbelief written on her face. But Ruyan's delight lasts only a moment. Her expression turns grave.
You conjured all this from thin air. Didn't you waste generation uses?
What's the panic? I still have over 100 uses left.
You didn't tell anyone about the system's capabilities, right?
Even if they find out, I'm not afraid. I have enough weapons to defend myself. That night, Ruyan and I enjoyed delicious food in our warm home, making up for the hardships she endured in the apocalypse. Early the next morning, I used the system to generate a massive supply of resources, distributing them to the entire village. I also exchanged for top-tier surveillance, protective steel plates, and barbed wire. I led the villagers in digging deep trenches and building a centralized rainwater filtration system. In a single day, we transformed the village into an impenetrable fortress for the apocalypse. The blizzard raged for 2 whole months before a turning point finally arrived. Over a year after the storms and snow, the sun finally emerged. The system's cold. That chemical voice suddenly chimed in.
Congratulations, host, on surviving the apocalypse. Daily generation count and single generation quantity limits are now completely removed.
My heart stirred, and a decision immediately formed. After sending people to investigate, I learned the truth. All Although post-disaster reconstruction had begun, countless remote mountain villages remained trapped in despair. Fields lay fallow with no seeds to sow, houses collapsed with no materials to rebuild. Children huddled in drafty shacks, without even a single complete textbook. Countless survivors who had endured floods and extreme cold were still struggling for basic survival. Without a moment's hesitation, I activated the system immediately. High yield, resilient seeds, brand new, durable farming tools, materials to reinforce houses, complete sets of textbooks, teaching aids, and mountains of daily supplies materialized, one after another in flashes of white light, anonymously. I sent these hope-filled supplies, truckload by truckload, to every corner in need. Wherever the wheels rolled, despair bloomed into hope, and deadlocks were broken. In the past, I was trapped in the quagmire of my birth family, held hostage my whole life by the notion of repaying kindness. I became someone else's ATM. After awakening the system's power, I led survivors through life and death disasters, using this power to save others and myself. Now, I've finally broken free from the shackles of the past, and I understand the true meaning of Jan. It was never blind obedience to vampiric family ties, but reverence for life and the passing on of goodwill. The sunlight flickered, and I abruptly snapped out of the dream. My phone was still vibrating wildly in my palm.
One after another.
But the exhilarating feeling of breaking free from shackles, the clarity of understanding Jean's true meaning remained.
Has been really carved into the bones.
At the moment, I have no half-tangle. The corners of the mouth slowly raised a sure smile.